Hi and welcome to the Running Shoe Geek channel. My name's Dylan and today we're talking about the New Balance Fresh Foam X 1080 V13. As you can see, I've logged in quite a lot of kilometers in my pair, or miles, roughly 200 miles or 320 kilometers. And by now I've got a pretty good idea of what the shoe's all about, its tech specs, who the shoe is and isn't suited for, and what I think of it. And in this video I'm going to share all of that with you. Before we talk about all of that, let's first discuss where the shoe sits inside New Balance's range. Now, the first thing to know is that New Balance regard it as its hero shoe. In fact, the brand says that if they were forced to only make one running shoe, it would be the 1080. New Balance designed the shoe for all abilities of runners, from Olympian to neighborhood jogger. Basically, anyone who can warrant buying New Balance's best expression of long distance comfort and innovation, made for everyday running or long runs. Perhaps if you're looking for something different, well, New Balance have quite an extensive range. For instance, if you're looking for something on the speed side, well, they've got their fuel cell range to have you covered. The 1080 has some siblings within its range, the first being the Fresh Foam X More, which is its maximalist cushion brother. It's not as versatile as the 1080, it offers a different underfoot feeling, particularly good for recovery runs. And then there's the 880, the brand's more traditional daily trainer. Not quite as soft as the 1080, nor as light, but certainly bulletproof and traditional in build and in terms of underfoot feeling. A little bit more inherent structure and flexion through the flex grooves on the forefoot for that familiar underfoot feeling. The 880 will do better on mixed terrain thanks to a thicker rubber outsole, but won't give you that same effortless forward propulsion as the 1080 does. And then there's the Fresh Foam X EVOS, the takedown of the 1080, and the Fresh Foam 680, the takedown of the 880. Both coming in at cheaper price points with de-specced and simpler features to their hero models. On the stability side, New Balance offer a stability equivalent to the 1080, known as the Fresh Foam X Vongo. It's slightly firmer and slightly heavier than the 1080, and built with a EVA sheet within the midsole that offers stability characteristics to help mitigate inward rolling. But aside from that, it's pretty similar to the 1080. And then there's the Fresh Foam X 860, the stability equivalent to the 880, offering additional arch support. It's generally slightly firmer, very durable, and offers additional medial arch support for runners who need it. Looking up close at the tech specs of the 1080, starting at the midsole, we have a stack height of 38mm at the heel, while 32mm at the forefoot, for a 6mm heel to toe drop. This is a decent increase in stack height from the previous model, which had a stack height of 34mm at the heel, while 26mm at the forefoot. The drop of the shoe is 2mm lower than before. As I mentioned, it comes in at 6mm heel to toe. The midsole unit of the shoe remains a full Fresh Foam X sole. However, the compound's been completely reformulated. It's now 15% more responsive, it's substantially lighter, and it's also softer, especially at the heel. But to improve the ride, they've given the shoe more of a rocker and they've stiffened the forefoot, just to give you more of a roll through your toes. At the outsole, New Balance have cut back on a little bit of rubber that's being used. It's still giving you really good coverage, it's grippy. I'm happy with the durability. There's a slight exposed section in the midsole that might become vulnerable if you use it off-road or to the extreme. But apart from that, there's been a really nice saving at the outsole, which often I don't say is a good thing, but I'm happy with it here. Alongside a lower density at the midsole, we have 30 grams of weight saved across the entire shoe, which is 1.1 ounces. With these weight savings, the shoe weighs in very competitively at 262 grams or 9.2 ounces in men's sizing, or 206 grams, which is 7.3 ounces in women's sizing. In terms of the fit, some of the users of the previous version, version 12, reported that that shoe ran large for its size and needed to go half size down just to eliminate the excess space at the toe box. I'm happy to say that with this version 13, New Balance have gone back to a fit that we're more familiar with, and the shoe runs true to size. I'm a pretty narrow foot and I get away with this standard fit version of the 1080, but I can also feel that it will accommodate various foot shapes. But of course, New Balance offer width programs. There's the standard fit, there's the wide fit, and there's an extra wide fit version of the shoe. So you can always customize it if you do have an extra or a particularly wide foot. The 1080's closest competitor is the ASICS gel-nimbus version 25 and version 26. positioned as a like for like, but also built with very similar features and specs and underfoot feelings. But a couple other flagship well-cushioned shoes that are worth comparing against include the Saucony Triumph, Brooks Glycerin, and Nike Vomero. In terms of the Hoka range, the 1080 is positioned between the Bondi and Clifton in terms of the amount of cushion that is offered on the shoe. But the 1080 is arguably more responsive than both, but it's also less rocket than the Bondi. So there isn't a neat like-for-like comparison in the Hoka range for the time being, but if cushioning is the metric, it lies between the Bondi and between the Clifton. The 1080 is a shoe that New Balance really like to push the boundaries with by evolving with each model. Whereas a shoe like the 880, they try to remain as consistent and as traditional as possible. I've absolutely loved the 1080 V13, and it's one of the most significant and important updates in the shoe's history. I haven't managed to get the shoe off foot, and it's the shoe I've run the most in the past few months. And because of this, I think it's a strong contender for one of the top shoes of the year. The changes I've enjoyed most about the shoe are the increase in stack height, the fact that the shoe is ridiculously light, the fact that the shoe is soft but not overly soft, and it's still responsive on foot. In fact, pretty remarkably responsive for a daily training shoe. It's also got this forefoot rocker. It's not too aggressive, but it just propels you forward. And it also offloads your calves, so the next day you don't feel like you've put in a hard effort, or you don't feel like your calves are sore in it. It ticks all the boxes for a daily running and a long run shoe, and it's not a well-cushioned shoe that keeps you to only run at recovery or easy run pace. If you really need to pick up the pace and reach an up-tempo pace, the shoe certainly doesn't hold you back. And because of this, a lot of runners, particularly your runners who are running around 3.5 hours or slower for the marathon, or equivalent in the half marathon, will find it as a great marathon or half marathon race day shoe for someone who's not looking for a speed specific marathon day shoe. So it certainly doesn't hold you back when it comes to speed for your up-tempo paces. There's two considerations to make perhaps if the shoe isn't suited for you. The first is that some runners have reported that the upper can be a little bit warm. So if you are in a particularly warm and hot climate, this is something to consider. Although I haven't found this to be the case, but this may be the case if you wear the shoe from morning till evening, perhaps with jeans, not only as a running shoe. This could be the case, so bear that in mind. And then the second point, perhaps a little bit more widespread valid, is that the heel of the shoe is particularly soft. So if you are a prominent heel striker or take time to transition from your heel to forefoot, the softness can translate into a little bit of a wobble and take away from the stability. So that is something to consider if you are dominant on the heel in your landing and particularly run at slower paces. So that's my review of the New Balance Fresh Foam X 1080 V13. Thanks for watching. Let me know what shoe you'd like me to review next.